I know.
Oh, Michelle was not able
stand
to.
by it. I think she heard it.
Michelle, did you just hear what he said to me?
I didn't.
Good, because
He kind of mumbled a little bit.
no, he didn't mumble.
Oh, okay.
Lou?
We got ready for the show, and I took you guys down and started the opening theme. And it took like 2 seconds for the opening theme to play. And she said, "I don't hear anything." And I said, "Just relax a minute."
He didn't actually. He said, "Just relax."
Yeah.
And
Oh.
it wasn't
Lou,
just
wrong.
relax a minute. It was that male
Wrong girl to say that to, Lou.
tone.
I mansplained it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just relax a little. Just relax, Kim.
Just relax. Why don't you
just
come around and
take it down a notch?
Relax, sweetie.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a good segue.
Don't you love it when you go to dinner and you're out doing whatever and someone calls you honey? Like it's one of my pet peeves. Don't call me honey. You don't even know me. Hate that.
Well, yeah. Don't call me honey. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't call me honey. One of my former clients wrote a book called "Don't Call Me Ma'am."
Yeah. Well, I have a whole thing about ma'am. And I get it's a polite thing, but this is a good start because the way that you just, typically did your thing there, I
did my thing like that. The show on the air. That's my thing.
Okay, how about you settle down over there and take a seat?
See, yeah.
So, swords up today, apparently, Michelle. On this note,
yeah,
I'm going without Lou, you chiming in because. Thanks. I don't need that. I just wanted to start the show today by just saying, because I've been sitting on this for the past couple of days as a woman athlete, and since this is my show and it is your daily game face, I am going to do at least 30-second shot at the fact that the disappointment and the glass ceiling that we break constantly as women gets trumped literally by the fact that the men's hockey team is the men's hockey team. There's the hockey team. We are the hockey team. The women have been involved in hockey in the Olympics since 1998. We are the most award-winning of the hockey teams combined in the shortest amount of time as females, and yet we didn't get the phone call as women for the hockey team and the females winning. We didn't get the accolades. We got an invite, and we being that I put myself on the team because I've been in this position in the role of being not the male side. No offense to you, Lou, even though you're here, but it's not right. And we are constantly still fighting this battle. I, as a gymnast, was constantly fighting being the underling as a female in comparison to the male teams. And the inequality that still exists is absolutely vapid in my mind. And I am very disappointed. So people that are out there that think that was a good thing, it's a great thing that both teams won. It's a great thing that both won in overtime. It's a great thing that they happen to both beat Canada. It's a great thing that hockey has this amazing program that brings youth up, both male and female, that is absolutely stellar. I have both male and female hockey players. I have both semi-pro and pro hockey players. And every single one of them has come out and talked to me about both sides, about how disappointing it was to see the national play out of how that ended in the Olympics on the last day with the men's team laughing at the expense and the butt end of a joke because they had to, because of what was going on with the phone call that came in. And I'll leave it there with a mic drop, but shame on them.
What a bummer, because I wasn't aware of all that happening, but I don't understand why there's any equality anyway, period. You know what I mean? There's so many bright women out there and smart women out there. And talented athletes and all the right. above, and in the arts community. I mean, art as well. I mean, a lot of women artists aren't recognized the same way men artists are. You know what I mean? It's across the board. So I'm sorry that happened. I'm glad that you said something though.
Yes. And I would keep saying something about
those hockey players, man, male or female, holy cremola, they're like tough. Okay. One of my former clients was a hockey player and she was tough, Mm-hmm.
Well, the same work goes. This is the thing: is the same work goes into the whole training. The same work goes in no matter what. It's just like any sport, right? The same work goes in no matter what gender you are. Yeah. And it's not really about the gender of the sport because it wasn't about them playing. It's the aftermath of one team gets like all this accolade and the men are paid much more. It's still that, like, there's all these other things,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's the piece. It's not about the hockey itself in sport. It's about, it's still the glass ceiling issue, and it's still
Yeah.
the inequality of how it's being treated. And one comes home to fanfare and one comes home to nothing, because the women had to go back to their lives and school and all those things, but the men didn't have to do that.
Ugh. Feel
And
better?
Yep.
Yeah, you said 100%.
Yep.
I think it's.
I
Yeah, you
needed
need
to say it.
Yeah.
Yep. I needed to say it because it's not right to have men laughing at the fact that the women got an invite under the auspice of, well, they had to be invited, ha ha, and that women are the butt of a man's joke. So
I'm glad I didn't hear the actual thing. Now you're going to make me Google it. I'm gonna have to
go
Google it.
right
Yeah,
on ahead.
I'm going to Google it, and it'll piss me off. Thanks for letting me know.
You're very welcome. Well, something had to be said, and
Yeah.
it's not about politics. It's about the fact that it's wrong.
And good old boys club is still alive and well.
And it is. And as a female gymnast, as you were and are, we busted our humps, and we've been compared to the training of being in Navy SEALs. In no way am I a Navy SEAL, but I've had many a SEAL that I work with say the amount of training that you've done, like you just did last week. You were sitting in a room, in a conference room, doing a push-up competition with a man in front of me. And it's like, but
58.
He and the two of you were like comrades in arms, not, combatants. And
I'll tell you, I hated losing that, because when I had my ankle surgery, my upper body has always been stronger than my lower. Well, not stronger. My upper body shreds faster than my lower body.
Right.
A lot of women have that problem. So when I had my ankle surgery, I had to stop working my upper body because I would be shredded on the top and I'd be dough girl on the bottom. So I'm still rebounding from not being able, literally sitting still with my foot up on like Princess and the Pea on a pillow for 4 months and not be able to walk. And still, like, even after I had a major reconstruction of my Achilles. And so I really wasn't able to walk without thinking about it until probably 8 months later. So everything got weaker because it had to,
Right.
So it annoys me because I absolutely, and it's funny because and if anybody knows, like, I can beat this guy at push-ups, you do, you know what I mean?
Yes,
I can do 500 push-ups in a row. You've watched me do it. So it annoyed me that he won because he's like shredded, and he's, Jason Von Payne from State 48 Roofing came on our, on a training I did last week about workforce wellness. And he really has made a commitment to workforce wellness in his business. And he's lost 40 pounds. And I watched him do it. We were in a BNI together, and I watched him go from doy boy to shredded. You know what I mean? So it annoys me that he beat me because you and I both know that I can do push-ups around him on a normal day. But
yes.
Also I'm nursing my left shoulder. I don't want my left shoulder to have to get surgery like my right shoulder did. So I was actually pleasantly surprised that my left shoulder was fine. And it made me realize
you did a lot of
yoga
that day.
when I was being kind of nice to myself on the push-ups, that I was being too nice to myself. So this week I'm like, I've given myself no get out of jail free cards on push-ups and yoga, because obviously I could do them, because I should have beat him. It really annoys me. I actually said I'm annoyed.
Lou, she was so upset because they were going 1 for 1, and she was cranking him out, and it was like you could see that, and
I could have gone a little further, but there was 2 things. One, we had a time issue with the show, right? And secondly, with the training. But secondly, I started to feel my shoulder go a little bit. And one of the things I've learned over time is I have to like shut my ego off when it comes to injury. You know what I mean? Yes. So I stopped so I didn't injure my shoulder, but I wasn't really as fatigued as I was just being careful.
Right. Well, that's
but
good.
Still, I lost.
I think you did fine. And you know what the best thing about Jason was? Is he's very gracious, and it wasn't like he was like, he just was like, it was like, okay.
Well, he also realized I was going push up to push up with him.
Yes, he did. And you were in a dress and heels. He was in a dress and heels doing push-ups. Again, he had his cowboy hat on, his t-shirt, his like jeans. It was pretty funny.
And he has a thing called scale that he does, where he invites people from the blue collar trades, and blue collar businesses are a key employee for my wellness program. So I go because I want to network, but I also love those guys. I love blue collar guys. My dad was a mechanic. I like those guys. Right. So he always has a push-up contest, and And every time he's had it, I've had an injury, so I've not been able to win. But I'll tell you, I am training for I'm training for the next scale conference that I can be the only girl that ever wins the push-up contest, because I can.
I know. Well, I thought you were actually going to beat him that day, but I know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
You were surprised too, right? I was like, oh.
because I was like, she's going to beat his ass. And then nope. Nope.
But how gracious was Jason to come all the way from Mesa, which is basically Mexico,
Yeah.
out to the West Valley, which is kind of like Canada. You know what I mean?
I know.
And
And
we
did
had people
he
that
get
came
lost?
from like,
Did he get lost?
he got a little lost, but he also the GPS situation out in the West Valley sometimes can be kind of weird, but it was more like he had a client blow up right beforehand, and then he had to, and he had the lady that was with him was a colleague that was doing the HVAC on the roof, and he was doing the roof. I don't know the whole story, but Jason and I have been networking for 10 years together, and I really love that he showed up the other day. And I love just his story. He's really super funny. He's super funny. He's got that kind of no nonsense way of telling a story that I always really appreciate.
So what Michelle and I are referencing is I was a guest speaker on her it was a training for wellness.
Yeah, it was called Wellness Connection Strategic Wellness, Unlocking the Power of Workforce Wellness.
And so I did a 15-minute bit essentially on like compassion fatigue and burnout and getting yourself into a leadership position that you're taking care of yourself and how to do that. And I gave 3 strategies of how to like really focus and keep track of that and so on and so forth. And
I really loved how all of you guys like piggybacked on each other.
Yeah.
Like great. Mackenzie Oakley from Access Culture Group was talking about, and I did a little reel about being able to tell her boss that he was a nicely said jerk. And I just thought, isn't that great that she could come on and know she's being recorded to say that her boss was being a jerk, but that he pivoted, Right. One thing's for sure, if you have a jerky boss, then your stress levels go up in your business, and so do your insurance premiums, because you have more people going to the doctor for stress-related things. You know what I mean? So I really love the bravery there. And Leslie Black talked about human resources and benefits, and making sure your culture was dialed in. You talked about burnout, and Jason talked about how he's implemented wellness, first of all, himself, because the leader's not going to follow you the people aren't going to follow you if the leader doesn't walk the talk. You know what I mean? So right. Jason has definitely been that guy. And then I just talked about my Wellness Connection program, my Growth Edge program, and a little bit about the 5 things that people could do to actually implement some of those things in their business. So it actually went really well. But boy, there was tons of reason for it not to go well. You had the time mixed up because you're back east. Jason got stuck in Mesa.
But we all pivoted. That was the best thing.
The television wasn't working. You know what I mean? I had 22 cancellations 24 hours beforehand. So we had an empty in-person room, but we were supposed to have 22, which would have been capacity. So you know what? I've just learned, and I think that you and I are probably in alignment on this thought as well. I just keep on doing the activity no matter what.
Right.
And I let the results follow. And
well, yeah.
we got tons of content out of it. If you're interested in getting a copy of the replay, just comment below replay, and I'll DM you and send you a copy of the replay. So we'll have some really great content for later. But you have to keep on just moving along. I've just really recently kind of repositioned my business to focus more on workforce wellness and on community wellness generally as a service first. And so I'm pivoting, and the more I pivot, the more I realize, well, this is timely. I should have done this 10 years ago.
Well, really. And I think it's from the week before show that you were on. I have been talking this whole past month and a half into February about adjusting and pivoting. So using my acronym of RISE, so that you reset your mindset, you integrate, you stand up and stand out, and then you evolve, you elevate. And so one of those things was about when things are in your space or in your way or obstacles, you're pivoting, you're adjusting, so that you're not just giving up because you stop or you need to stop, or something happens like out in the world, like I talked about at the top of the show. You say something, then you pivot and you move forward, because you can't let it get you down, you can't let it get you stuck. But I had wanted to make sure that the topic today, going into the things that followed from your program last week and then mine, was also talking about how to keep moving forward with people when you're outgrowing them, or when you're moving forward and people are not coming along with you. You see this, I talk about it with people in addiction all the time, like they're getting better and they're recovery based, and the people that they've been living with or working with or being with are not, and they don't move with them. Or people who've had massive growth in their emotional growth, and they've realized that they've moved some obstacles out of their way because they finally know how to do it. And then the other people that are around them, whether it's family members, spouses, children, whatever, they're not moving with them because they're still in that mindset. And really talking about how to grow when you're outgrowing other people or outgrowing situations.
So timely. I mean, there's been a lot of that for me over the past couple of years, you know, and also like I've been the person that somebody's outgrown. I had a best friend for 35 years send me an email 5 years ago and basically state that she'd outgrown the relationship, you know. And I remember being mad and devastated and pissed and confused and all the things. But the longer I process what she actually said, and she did it via email, by the way, which, you know, that's not the way to do it. But I can see her point from her perspective.
Yeah.
You know, and it's okay to outgrow each other.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think that everybody should be a 50-year-long relationship like you and I have, which is crazy. I can't even believe it's been that long. But, you know, there are some people that you just outgrow.
Yes.
And you don't have to be mad about it.
No.
And it's just a choice to choose the new path as opposed to the old one, you know? So it's interesting because I've really been looking back on it and processing it, because I have a relationship in my life where I'm, you know, a couple of them, you know what I mean? That I'm kind of resetting expectations and kind of redefining boundaries for myself as I am aware of how flippin' busy I am, you know what I mean? And kind of triaging, okay, this is the amount of time I have in a day for relationships.
Right.
And I want to make sure the time that I'm spending on relationships isn't like light and fluffy plastic, but light and fluffy elevating. Or levity, right? Because if we keep on going back to a source that is just like work, and we only have, you know, this week I've got 2 hours to spend on my relationships, and those 2 hours are spent not getting the job done, which is kind of lifting yourself up and lifting the other person up, then you kind of sometimes have to reposition people or recategorize or reset a boundary or have a tough conversation. Those tough conversations are hard, by the way.
They are.
To kind of say to somebody, hey, listen, here's where I'm at. Here's where you're at. You know, I love you. I care about you, but I need to reposition this a little bit so that it can be good for both of us. But sometimes that's not possible. And you just have to have that tough conversation, you know,
well,
or not.
I think that you know, sometimes I think sometimes you have to have the conversation. I think sometimes it's just kind of like it falls out the way it falls out, and the conversation's kind of said but without being said.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that when you don't have, like you say, you set aside those 2 hours of time for your social relationships or your personal relationships, but other things that you have to do haven't been done. That's the decision of, okay, do I put the time into making sure I take care of, there's Kitty.
Like he wants to show up and say hello.
Hello there. Do I do the thing to take care of me, or do I make sure that the other people get taken care of? And oftentimes we'll take care of others before we take care of ourselves. And I think that's where the pivot has to come in terms of your growth, is that if the people don't understand that you have, like, I have this with running all the time. I have to do my run. Sometimes I didn't do my run yet today, but I'm going to do it later. So it's going to eat into time that would be social time or other people time on this particular day. And I've had to learn over time to be like that. I'm okay with that. And if people aren't, that is not a me issue. That is a them issue. And, and people have gotten sort of used to that, and some people haven't. And people will be like, yeah, but you could run tomorrow. Well, yeah, but tomorrow I'm running too, because I'm training.
Because I'm an athlete. I know.
Right, because I'm training. So, but when people don't have the same mindset or even an understanding of that mindset, they just don't understand why you can't do when they're doing. And I'm like, well, it's not an affront to you. It's just one of those things that you have to understand, that my boundary is taking care of me in this moment. It's not selfish. It's taking care of me, and you should do more of that too.
And also I have a goal. to run a marathon or to,
Right.
you know, and the lack of respect that people have for that. You know,
Yes.
Kim, as you're talking about this, I was thinking about how you and I grow up.
Right.
I mean, you and I grew up, I left school early, took
Yep.
a bus to get to the gym, got there, you know, sometimes 2 hours before the team did. Weight trained. When I was 96 pounds, I was already bench pressing 180
Lot.
pounds, right?
Yeah.
And then we had, you know, our workout. And then after a workout, you know, my parents owned a family business. I would go home after the family business. And while I was doing 2,000 sit-ups and 500 push-ups before I went to bed, I was doing my homework in between sets. There wasn't like a lot of time for fluffy in there. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, we were there together. So that's
now, and I
why
want
we're
to
so
emphasize,
similar.
I want to emphasize the importance of the fact that that routine you just said
Was every day for like our entire childhood.
is not an exaggeration and not a lie.
Right.
That is a good day of an undershot day of training and being 10, 11, and 12 years old.
Yeah.
Doing that.
8,
And
9, 10.
8, well,
12.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
For you, right.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
like 7, 8, 9 years.
Yeah, we were
Because I was 3 years different. So, but also putting in 4 to 5 hour workouts a day, every day except for Sundays, because we were in the gym Monday through Saturday, every day, all the time. And that's, and that's, I think, I mean, you know, talking again, going back to the top of the hour about the fact that people put in as athletes the time. When you're at that level that you were and I was and still are, you put in that kind of time. It doesn't matter about your gender. It matters about there's training time in this, whether you're doing it for athleticism, whether you're doing it for work, whether you're putting it into a relationship, you're putting in time. And it's so important to realize that when you have a goal and when there's something out in front of you and you want it, that's the thing that's there. You want that. If you're sacrificing your time to do other things, then your goal is going to come up short because, like we said last week, somebody's always going to be doing faster, stronger, harder than you are. And if you're not wanting to have that happen to you and you want to be at your top peak performance, whether it's at work, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's at a sport, whatever it is, you have to be able to perform for you and do your boundaries for you to make sure, hey, I want to do my 2,000 sit-ups and 500 push-ups a night, and I want to be able to get all my homework done, or I want to be able to read that book, which I never get to do. Because why? Because I do the 2,000 sit-ups and I do the 500 push-ups, and I don't do the book because that's not in the goal mindset at this time.
And as an adult, like, you know, like as I've pivoted my business, I always set my goals. They're always lofty. And this cat is a relationship that I'm working on all the time. This cat is very needy. So
a boy, I love him.
And he's a boy. He's the only man in our life right now, and he is definitely needy, which is very, very concurrent with my experience in life. But anyway, and we just digress. You know, I think that that's part of addressing whether someone's a fit in your life or not. Like right now, if someone doesn't understand that I'm grinding, that I've got some serious goals. I have a serious tithing goal. I have a serious business goal. I have a serious, how many people am I going to help goal? I have a serious, you know, physical goal for myself. And if somebody can't relate to those kind of goals, they're not a good fit for me.
Right.
And over the past couple of years where I've remained single, I've learned so much about how this cat wants to be in the mix. He's like, I want to be in the mix. Mikey, you're just gonna have to just hold that thought, Mikey.
Look at the pod.
Look at him. He's just like, speak to the pod.
His name is Mike.
Mikey.
You know, his name is Mikey.
Okay.
And he's for sure a very needy cat. You know, I think that's part of defining like when you've outgrown a relationship or you've outgrown a situation or you know, I just changed a business partner of mine, my nutrition partner, I changed. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with that partner. It's just that given the trajectory and the things, there was just not a fit situation going on for me. And I made a change.
Right.
You know, but I think sometimes every time you make a change, whether it's a relationship or a partner or you move, it opens up the door to like so many other things. Like making that change forced me right before the holidays. It forced me to stop and really think about what is it that I'm doing and where is it that I'm going. And knowing how much energy and effort, this cat, I swear to God, knowing how much energy and effort I put into now he's going to go over and claw on the table because I'm not paying attention. Let me throw my sock at him. It was totally typical. But it made me relook at everything, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you realize that a relationship's not working anymore or a job's not working anymore, like I had a girlfriend recently leave a job. She probably should have left it 4 or 5 months earlier. But now that she's left it, she realizes the non-fit. Like when you're stuck in things that don't fit, that aren't serving your goals and aren't getting you where you want to go, especially on this side of life. You know, I'm taking
Right.
care of my 85-year-old mother, and I'm very aware of time and how little time we really have. You know, I'm very selective now on where I put my time.
Right.
I
Well,
just had
it's
dinner with
maintaining
it.
your mental energy and your physical energy of where you want to put it. And it's
Yep.
important because people will often stay too long in things because oftentimes it's fear of leaving. It's
Yeah.
guilt. It's an
Yeah.
obligation that's socially normed in. It's all these things. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you don't have to do that. You have to be true to yourself. You have to be able to say, okay, I need to do this for me. And I'm sorry that you don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. This is no longer in alignment with where I'm going. And,
Right.
you know, it frees the other person up to go on their way too, you know?
Right.
Not every relationship is, and every job or every situation is supposed to be a forever thing. Some people are a season, a reason, or a forever thing, you know? And I think the forever people in your life are the people that are able to pivot with your pivot,
Yes.
but also they're also autonomous and they
Right.
have their own space. And
Right.
you and I, perfect examples of that. We could not talk for 10 years and take
Right.
off where we left off, right?
Exactly.
Because we are autonomous and we
Right.
are responsible for our own thing. But it's a learning curve, I think. It's also the realization, like, it's an asset allocation.
Yes.
It's very practical. And I recently had a conversation with somebody about this. Listen, I only have so much energy in a day, especially as I get older. And the energy that I have has to be put towards my personal self-development, my business's development, my mother's care. Okay. And at the end of that checklist, there's very little left. So I don't have a lot of extra time to he's hilarious, right? I don't have a lot of extra time, but
He
Mikey's
just
part of the
ran
show.
across the
I don't have a
screen.
lot of extra time to be in bad fits. And it's been a really it's been, look at it, help me clean myself in your hand. It's been a very look at him. He's part of the show.
He's like,
Oh, he's playing.
He's relentless. I swear to God, Mikey's a perfect example of me. You know, I leave him outside so he can sleep with my mom at night and close the door. And when I close the door to my bedroom, he looks at me like, "What are you doing? Like, how come I can't go in there?" I'm grateful he doesn't cry all night long. It would be even worse. But you know, it's okay to say, you know, I have only so much energy and time during the day, and I got to be very careful about how I spend it. And also, people need to realize that I know he's hilarious. When people, I know it's great, right?
I'm
When
dying.
when you spend a half an hour or 15 minutes with somebody, you know, they give you the gift of your time, Mikey. Say hi to Aunt Kim, Mikey.
Hi, baby.
Say hi to Aunt Kim. She's a cat person too, so she understands this dilemma. They're like little tenacious little tyrants. When you give somebody 15 minutes of your day, it's absolutely a gift.
Yes.
And I think that some people don't respect that. I just had dinner with a girlfriend who's super busy. We spent actually 3 hours last night, which is huge for both of us. We had a great conversation. But I said to her, thank you for the gift of your time, because you can make more money. You can, you know, there's lots of things you can get more of, but you can't get more time. When someone gives you your time,
Right.
it's the biggest gift they're ever going to give you. And you have to realize it's also the biggest gift you have to give.
Right. And
when I think about the time that I've spent in, you know, relationships with the wrong fit, I literally like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because
and that's why the boundaries are so important. Your personal boundaries, knowing them, so that, because I think that as you get time and wisdom and age, right? At least that's what I think. You learn that you're not going to give up those pieces of time unless you really can, and then it's valuing yourself to give that time, because it's so important, because you can't get that time back. I mean, I've sat with people, and I'm not talking clients. I'm talking like just relationships, friendships, where, I've sat 3-4 hours with people and I don't remember saying more than a couple sentences. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't get any of that time back. But
I know.
it's like, oh my word, and then not have any appreciation for the time that I just gave. And then, and then just being
And
like,
I've been
you're
that
giving
person too, where I've
over
been
this
stuck
thing.
in a traumatic situation, and I've been on the other side of that. I've been that person. We've all been that person that's been the drain at some point,
Right.
if you're honest with yourself,
Yes.
right? But as you get older, if you really start to become wise, you start to think about, and I used to remember like listening to old people say they didn't want to have conversations with people about certain things because it wasn't worth the energy, or it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the right thing, or it wasn't, I don't want to bother them. And now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need to share every little thing with every person. Like, if
Right.
somebody's overwhelmed with their own life, you dumping your life on their life at the same time is probably not a good idea,
Right.
for either one of you. You're going to overwhelm
Right.
the both of you. But
Right.
also, when you end a relationship like that, or, things change, it's, it opens up the door for new relationships to come in
Right.
that are a better fit. And we hang on to the wrong thing, we're going to miss out on the right thing.
Well, and I think there's the key. When you hang on to the wrong thing, you can miss out, and likely will miss out on the right thing, because you don't have the opportunities in front of you don't have your resource base is only what your resources are. And if you don't have the availability to have the doors open around you for anything else,
Yeah.
you're so stuck in that mold, and you haven't pivoted and you haven't adapted out and you haven't said, hey, I have to do this, you won't have that experience to have anyone else come into your life that might be a better fit. And that could be anything, including especially jobs. I watch people stay in jobs all the time that are
It's too
not
long.
good fits. And they
Yep.
do it because for
All the reasons.
is like a lot of reasons, but a lot of times it's just the fear of leaving the relationship. Essentially, it's like, I
Mhm.
don't know what it's on the other side, so I'd rather stay with the devil I know than the devil I don't. But then their growth stops because they're outgrowing the company, they're outgrowing the relationship of that job, but then they don't actually do anything about it because they're afraid.
Well, and same thing being an entrepreneur. I had recently had somebody in my life be like judgmental that I've changed my concept again. I'm like, well, I haven't really changed my concept. It's always been the same concept, self-care. However,
He's in this.
I, what am I supposed to keep on doing something that's not working and no longer aligns with, no longer resonates with me because it makes everyone else feel comfortable? Or do I need to have the courage to pivot publicly and make a giant shift? Now that I've made the shift, I could see that it needed to happen, and I made it. And then telling the story of what the shift is, because people are going to continue to interact with you about the person they thought you were, but you've grown and they haven't. But it's interesting, as you've I used to focus on a nutrition product, and now I'm focusing on holistic wellness. And so I have to be consistent on social media, with my relationships, in my business, thinking this is not my new story, this is my elevated story.
Well, that's the thing, is you've risen to the other story. And
Yeah.
by the way,
And
forgive
you
my
have to be
laughter. You
brave
have
enough to
a cat
do that, and
behind
not
you
stay
that's in the
stuck in.
sink,
I'm sorry,
Michelle.
we're talking over each other. Say it again.
I said, forgive my laughing. You have your child behind you in the sink, jumping around and doing funny things. And
I
so
know.
it's very funny. And so
It's the
I
Mikey
am,
show.
yes, he is definitely so. But
You would love this cat.
to your
He's a
point,
character.
to your point about like that, being able, the pivot thing is it just keeps coming up about being able to pivot and understand and being able to move forward despite other people not maybe moving with you or being able to understand your movement forward. But your concept, to your point, because I've watched you over the years, is your concept has stayed the same. You're just elevating, you're rising. Now, if we don't talk about it in terms of business, and a lot of people that listen on this show are about relationships and trying to, change and rise in their relationships, you have the same exact concept. It's when you have outgrown something and someone isn't rising with you, you have to be able to set your own boundary to say, if you can't rise with me, then we have to recalibrate this situation.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about, so the ladies and I in my neighborhood, those of you who don't know, I live in Sun City, which is a 55 plus community. Okay. And it's the original retirement community ever created. And I'm 58, and me and like 15 to 18 ladies get together, a mom, on this, once a month, and we have coffee. So one of the ladies said, she'd married her husband for 75 years. I said, what's the secret? She goes, you know what? We've had 15 different relationships. And every time we both evolved, we had to restart our relationship, falling in love with the person we were currently in.
Right.
And that had to keep on happening. So I think even long-term relationships, you're in a position where I've grown, you've grown, you know, you're in different chapters and seasons of your life, and you have to recommit to the relationship on its new level. And I think that's something that people either can or cannot do.
Right.
People want to stay stuck in the only story when there's lots of stories throughout our life. And sometimes you'll get to a point, like I did with my former best friend, 35 years, right? We got to a point where she realized that for her, we weren't on the same path anymore.
Right.
And also, and what I was thinking earlier was that she gave me a gift when she did that, because you don't want people staying in alignment with you because they feel obligated,
Right.
because that's disingenuous, and it's a waste of your time because you have someone that's appeasing you. It's better for somebody, and anytime something happens that doesn't go your way, it's always a gift. We may not feel it at the time,
Right.
but it's always a gift when, I don't know, the trash takes itself out.
Yep.
Or a person that you love pivots and moves in their own direction. And I you know, this idea, like when someone unfriends me on Facebook, you know, I mean, like, okay, that's like the trash taking itself out, right? Like, it's somebody's no longer resonating with my story and my thing, and they don't want to follow me anymore. I'm grateful when they go. I was interviewing, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name, but he was the director of the Arizona Marketing Institute. And he said it was his job to repel people. And I thought that was interesting coming from a marketing guy. I'm like, wait a minute. I was kind of like, oh, wait, hang on a second. You know, he goes, yeah, I want to repel the people that aren't a fit so that I can attract the people that are.
Right. Because it's the tribe. You want to attract the vibe and the tribe that you that you want. And it's repel the things you don't want, repel negativity, repel people that are in that angry space or in that space that's not healthy, or the space that is, you know, the crab in the bucket, I call it. You know, it's the one that the tide comes in and they're going to pull you in easier, right? So why stand in the water so the tide comes and gets you? Get out 100%. Of the water.
And, you know, it was like this whole, like, Six Sigma is a perfect example of a business system where you create something, you try it, you reevaluate it, what works, what doesn't, you tweak it, you try it, you tweak it, you reevaluate it. It's like a cycle. Why don't we feel that way about our own personal lives?
Right.
You know, I mean,
so my clients ask me that a lot of the times about, you know, similar kinds of questions, and like, why can't we're socialized into being this way. We're socialized into the norm of, well, you're supposed to be this. Yeah. And when you're thinking outside that box, like you're talking about, it's not really outside the box. It's what should be. But people don't do that because we're socialized into fitting into this thing that we then go, oh, well, we're supposed to be doing this. We should be doing it this way. We're supposed, and that's not, you have to get that mentality and the mindset shifted away from that.
People want to pigeonhole you because if they pigeonhole you into this thing that you're XYZ,
right,
then they can, it alleviates their brain stress, so they can say, oh, that's Kim. She's an athlete.
Right.
She runs. Okay. Right. But if you were to, like, stop being an athlete, and which is never going to happen, but you know what I'm saying? Something were to shift and change, it would be like, they're not resonating because, like, wait a minute, you were just blue and now you're pink. I don't understand. Like, I had you in the blue category. So that people pigeonhole each other because it's an alleviation of stress on them. So when you shift and change, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. Right. And people are either going to shift and accept and your change or your shift. And, you know, it's like in business, like with my friend. Oh, you changed again. God, I hope I change every year.
Right. Well, you're always changing. Right.
I'm supposed to be looking at my business and saying what's working, what's not working. Where am I delivering value? Where is my message landing? Let's try it this way. Let's try it that way. You know, sometimes you got to wait it out. Like my first course, you know, we had 2 people show up that wanted to be there for 3 people, right? Okay, so 3 people showed up. Maybe next time it'll be 5. We don't know. Maybe next time it'll be 50. But you have to keep on doing the sit-ups and doing the push-ups and doing the activity to get the results to follow.
Right.
But knowing, like, are we in a position where I need to keep on doing this for the traction to happen? Or do I need to shift or change something because it's not working, or I need to improve it or regulate it or make a tweak? Or do I need to throw this out? This isn't working. It's no longer worth my time.
and you have to have that open mindset, which is that part of the rise piece, is you have to have an open mindset to be able to shift those things instead of being in the singular, the vacuum mind space of like, okay, it's linear. It's not linear. You have to think diverse. You have to think you're on different roads. You have to converge the roads. You have to have like different paths. You have to be willing to have them. People will say, I was at an all women's leadership gala the other night for Galentine's Gala. It was fabulous, right? It was all
that's
these
great.
beautiful women, like all together networking and doing this wonderful thing. There are 150 of us, right?
Wow, how
And that
fun
was
for you.
that was the message, was that we have to be able to see ourselves diverse, no linear. And that was such a great message, because I've been around people in the past, especially since I started doing the Year of You last year and then this Rise this year. People have asked me like, why are you doing that? Essentially, why aren't you satisfied with where you are? Why can't you just sit in the room and be a therapist? Well, one, if you know me,
They don't know you very well.
that, right? It's diversification. There's a reason why I have 5,000 things going. It's not because I'm bored. It's because I'm motivated to do that. I've got wisdom over time that says more success comes from the more you do, not pigeonholing yourself into this vacuum of a linear line of things to do. We have to be able to say, I need to move. I need to keep moving forward. There's various ways of doing that. Sometimes it's going to be sideways. Sometimes it's going to be stepping over things, not over people, but it's over things because they're obstacles in the way. It's about movement and change and being willing. And to your point that you were just saying, and I say this all the time on my show, is that people do one of three things with you when you're moving and you're changing. They will go with you, which is maybe sometimes or grow with you, should say. They will stay the same, which is much more often because that's what they're used to.
Right.
Or they will regress and try to pull you back, which is really common. That's the most common thing, is people don't want you to move forward because of their own stuff, their fears, their shame, their guilt, their whatever it is. But you have to recognize that 3 categories exist all the time. And that one that's regressive and the one that pulls you back or stays the same is not going to be in your wheelhouse to help you move forward.
It's interesting that you say that, because you talked early in the show about, getting sober, so in recovery, we talk about people, places, and things, right? You have to change all of them when you get sober. And when I think back on when I was actively 25 years ago in New York City, that would be 26 years ago, because I moved to Vermont. I got sober in Vermont. But the people that were in my life at that time, there's not one of them, that were in the party part of my life. None of them are here.
Right.
They were eliminated pretty quickly because we were no longer living the same trajectory. Eliminated or died. A lot of them died, right?
Right.
But when you change a behavior, you have to just not, okay, I'm going to stop doing X, Y, Z. You have to replace it with a better behavior.
Right.
So when you do that, you level up. And when you level up, there's some people that don't come with you.
That's right.
And that's okay.
Right.
That's actually what's supposed to happen.
Right.
When you educate yourself and you get a degree, or you change your business, or you elevate yourself.
Or you just change your lifestyle.
There's people aren't going to come along with you. And there was a group of folks that I rode motorcycles with a lot. And after a couple circumstances, I realized it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I just realized, I don't belong here anymore. I've outgrown this situation. I've outgrown it. So I didn't need to have a big conversation with people. I just stopped attending and I started to do different things. And I realized that, over time, that I had left that part of my story behind. I'm still friendly with those folks.
Right.
There wasn't a negative thing. It was just that I realized it's no longer a good use of my time.
Right.
There's other things I want to do now, other places I want to go, and and it also always a limitation in time. So you have to choose what you're going to do with your time, because you run. I don't know about you, but I find a way to use every second, every day. I do know about you. You're just like me, literally.
Yep.
But I also think that high achievers, people who are driven, and if you've been a gymnast or you've been an athlete, it's kind of hardwired into you.
Right.
You're constantly looking at yourself like a holistic being, which is one of the reasons why I had to change my business. I realized I was not representing really how I look at life completely with my business. And I needed to realign how I do life and how I do business together even deeper with the 9 pillars, realizing that, physical, nutrition, mental and emotional, environmental, very important, more important now than ever in some weird way. I mean, we were just talking this morning about you being in a snowstorm and me being here when it's going to be 80 degrees today. It makes a big difference in my mindset. Sorry to say, but there's a environment does really affect you. And then purpose, changing, making sure you have purpose in your life.
Right.
And what was the other one? And then the forgotten pillars, which are social, spiritual, and fun, and hobbies. For me, making sure that my commitment to fun and hobbies was integrated into my business in a meaningful way. I was already doing it on social. People were already seeing me at philanthropy events, out in my motorcycle. They were already seeing it, but I realized, wow, I really need to tell that story more. That actually, the reason we do the other 8 pillars is for that 9 pillar, to have fun and creativity and levity in our life. And if we're not doing that, then we're missing the point, because life isn't all about the grind. So being a holistic person is already who I was, repositioning my business so that I was telling that story more succinctly was just kind of like, oh, so is that me changing? No, it's me elevating. It's me evolving.
Right.
Okay? And when you evolve and you elevate, there are some people that are going to be like, wait a minute, you just changed everything. It's like, well, no, I didn't. I learned, and I made a shift so that what I'm doing in my business, what I'm doing in my life and my friendships is more in alignment with the person that I've now learned to be.
Well, I think so the word alignment is important here. And also, just being in alignment with yourself so that and also it's the shift of your narrative, your storyline that you've been saying to yourself. People might say, oh, you changed everything, but you didn't. I don't. I changed the storyline to keep myself evolving so that I can keep opening doors for myself. And that's the part of like, hey, if you want to come with me, come through the doors with me. You want to align with me, that doesn't mean you have to be a perfect match, but you got to be in alignment with what I'm doing. And if you're not, then you're probably going to be in expenditure.
Well, I totally get your collateral damage or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But what I think was interesting as you were just talking, I still find it fascinating how you and I have, in spite of or because of, or we grew up in this very extreme situation.
Yes.
As the daughter of entrepreneurs, as extreme athletes, and how we've, on the other side of this, positioned this extreme thing that we are, and we are completely service-based.
Yeah.
So I realized that my biggest asset or my biggest product is my ability to serve and to inspire. So of course, once I realized that, I needed to pivot so I could tell the service story better. And I think that's why you keep on pivoting too, because you are continuing to serve. And I think that's crazy that we both kind of ended up here in this mindset from where we came from.
At the same time.
We're always so
if people missed out on last show and also don't get the behind the scenes of when Michelle and I do get a very rare moment to talk because we're both so busy, but even when we haven't talked, when we did jump on a quick text a couple weeks back, it was all about, oh, I'm doing this. And I said it and she was like, oh my God. And she had already had all of her imagery and all of her protocols and everything that were matching mine. And we hadn't talked in about a year specifically. So all of a sudden here we were, had no idea of either thing, but we're so aligned with that because the mindset is there. And so that's
even what you said at last week at our show, talking about burnout. Like I was kind of standing, you saw me with a big grin on my face. Burnout is real.
Yes.
And it is the end of the road is completely depleted, burnt out, because we haven't taken the time to do what we're talking about here.
Right.
Clean house, figure out where we're doing, stop doing things that don't work, start doing things that are not, don't align with a job or a client or whatever that's not in alignment with your heart space, letting all that go. Because if you don't, you end up literally burnt out, sitting on the couch, eating chips, gaining weight. I mean, it's the catalyst for all things awful. You know what I mean? That to be completely depleted and just ugh. Because we don't we're not eating. Say it again.
You give into it.
You give into it.
You give into it because you get the, the efforts, because you think that you don't have any ability to
You
change, and
crack.
there's nothing else, right? There's nothing else there.
Yeah. So when I realize, like, as I'm posting things about, I'm my mom's full-time caregiver. I have a full-time business. I'm straight up entrepreneur. I have no safety net. You know what I mean? Like it's me. It's all me all day long, right? And if I don't take time to uncover my motorcycle and get out with my girlfriends and go have like a coffee somewhere with a view, I'm actually not serving myself or others, because
Right.
life isn't about the grind. Life is about living.
Right.
And so if you don't make it to the gala and be with the girls in their dresses, which is, I love that for you. You know what I mean? That's also part of the 2,000 push-ups and the 500
That's right.
sit-ups.
Right.
It's part of it,
Yes.
and I think that you and I grew up in such an extreme situation where we never took vacations.
Nope.
Never once went on a vacation. My first family vacation, I was 32. I can conclusively tell you it's too late at 32. We went to Ireland. It was like we wanted to kill each other. It was, mom was just getting sober. Dad was like, out of control because he wasn't in control, you know what I mean? And I was like, hey, I'm going to the pub, so it was like, it was like it's far too late for a family vacation. But and part of one of my pillars is as I'm moving along, as I'm developing my business, is I'm incorporating travel into some of the things that I offer, because that travel is so important.
So important. Well,
being able to get on a plane and go somewhere you've never been and see other cultures and take a break from your life and turn your day. One of my business partners, Lloyd, who I don't know if you've met Lloyd or not yet. He's the founder of Real Networking. Lloyd is going away for a weekend, and he's not taking his computer. I'm like, yes, I've been trying to get him to do that for 2 years. Like, Lloyd, turn your dang technology off for a second. Give yourself a minute.
Right.
And have someone, he's taking care of his son. Give someone your son for the weekend and go disconnect for a bit. Because if we don't do that,
right,
it's only a matter of time before that burnout's going to catch up. If we keep
right.
having those relationships that are draining us, if we keep
right.
this setting a boundary with people, what you're talking about, when you're outgrowing situations or people,
right.
It's literally urgent.
Yes. Yes,
You know what I mean?
It is.
You haven't got time to drag. You haven't got time to be dragged or be dragged.
Right,
Like in the program, we say, let go or get dragged. Sometimes you got to let go and let that, that gravy
You don't want to
train.
you don't want to be 35 thinking, oh, well, if it will be okay when I'm 45, or it will be okay when I'm 55. It will be okay when whatever.
And all of a sudden you're 85 and you're my mom.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, you don't want to be saying that to yourself. All right. I'm watching the time on the wall, and I know Lou has to jump too eventually here. So, but this was great, and we will have to do another one again sooner rather than later. Not.
I was thinking we probably should put like a regular rotation. We talked about that we probably should do a regular rotation.
We should.
And maybe align our social media focus. It'll be interesting to see, like, as I'm posting and you're posting.
Yeah.
But maybe we might want to like do like a regular check-in, because it would be interesting to see now that we're both pivoted and elevating how this year unfolds.
Right. Well, and also, and not to do it online right here but I'm getting ready to start advertising a retreat in May here. So Michelle, maybe you'll have to do a speaker moment and come in on Zoom it's a women's retreat that's going to happen.
I would love it.
And so I know you're out in Arizona, but we can always do an hour of you doing something for.
I would love it. Absolutely. Have me. I'd love to be there.
But we'll talk about it.
I'd also love to, be there in person, but it probably won't happen this year.
Well, I was going to say, that's why I said Zoom, because I know.
Yeah. I know. Well, I'm Mikey won't let me leave. I mean, he's.
Yeah, well, and I do have to point out that her cat's name is the exact nickname that everyone calls my father, Mikey.
Okay.
Isn't that funny?
Oh my God, how aggravating.
I just laugh. I had to say that, but yeah. Well, and there he was being aggravating, much like my dad. And if you're listening, Dad,
how triggering.
Dad,
I got it.
You know.
So for people that don't know, Kim's parents were my coaches, and we were in the gym together for many, many years together. So the reason why I laugh is because I'm in the know.
if you know, you know.
I was there at the scene of the crime.
So, yes, that's for another time.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I love you, and I hope we do this again soon. This was great. And
We'll
as
schedule it.
usual, we talked about some things we weren't planning on talking about, and we missed a couple things that I wanted to talk about. We'll do it again another time.
We will, but yes,
Right.
I will text you on the backside later today. And thank you so much for being on. And I will be on next week, and we will have another guest next week. It's a surprise guest next week.
Oh,
I know.
I'm going to have to tune in to find out.
It's also going to be a surprise because he may or may not show.
That's hilarious. I want to let you know that the podcast is going out in my newsletter literally in the next hour. So I'm just kind of doing the final tweak, and I will be mentioning that people can find you here on Facebook or also on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, and all your favorite podcast channels. Thank you.
That's right.
All right, you guys.
All
Thanks,
right, girl.
Have a great week. Thanks, Michelle. Love you.
Love you too. Take care.
Bye.